Great team. My next guest back in action. February 6th, she's going to be taking on Marion Reneau at UFC Fight Night. And of course, I'm talking about Macy Chiasson back here on the program. Macy, how's it going?
It's good. It's nice to talk to you again.
Yes.
I looked back at the last time we talked, and it's been almost over like a year and a half. So.
I know. Too long. We got to do this more often. But it was great to see you get this fight booked. I know you had a really rough 2020 like a lot of us did. We'll get into that in a sec. But first, I wanted to start with the holidays. What'd you get up to? I'm sure you did a bit of training, but how was the holiday season for you?
Well, I mean, I went home in November for Thanksgiving for like a week, and because I decided that I wasn't going to go back to New Orleans for Christmas, just because I mean, my next opponent, Marion, I mean, she's a solid opponent, so I got to be ready. I just been training my ass off, so it hasn't been too relaxing.
How is New Orleans? Like, did you get to go like on Bourbon Street, like when you were home, to see what it looks like? Because I got to imagine it's got to look completely different with COVID now.
No. Just being from New Orleans and growing up there, I honestly try to avoid Bourbon Street.
I bet. Yeah, it's like one of those things. It's like, yeah.
Like 17, 18 years old, but it's so dangerous now. You can't, I mean, just being around, drunk tourists, it's not fun.
No.
So I didn't check out Bourbon Street, but yeah, I mean, when I did go home for Thanksgiving, it's almost like a ghost town. It's really sad because New Orleans is such a tourist place, and like that's how they survive.
Yeah.
And COVID has just like hit them really hard. So it was kind of sad to see, New Orleans be such, go from such a thriving city and a lot of people around to almost like a ghost town.
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah, hopefully things improve here. I mean, we're keeping our fingers crossed for 2021. Yeah. It's got to be the year the year of the comeback, so to speak. Let's talk about you. You were telling me off air, and I didn't know this. You actually it was a heart procedure. Earlier last year. That's what took you out of the fight with Sijara Eubanks. Tell me a bit more about that because I was unaware of this.
Yeah. So probably right before I got COVID in June, I found out that I had a genetic heart disease called WPW, which basically makes you, it's like a tachycardia, or it can make you feel like kind of sluggish when you're starting to warm up. So your heart will beat irregularly, and sometimes you'll have some like a hard time recovering. And, I've never noticed it. My doctor called me and was like, have you noticed like ever feeling out of breath or dizzy during training? And I was like, well, I mean, if it's a hard session, of course, so maybe it was just kind of in the back of my head. Maybe there was something going on when I was warming up, but I ended up having an ablation on my heart. So very I wouldn't say minor, but not a big deal heart procedure where they kind of short circuit my heart just to see if I have any irregular, dangerous heartbeats. Which could be fatal, along the lines over the years. And so everything's good with that. But 2 weeks later, after I had the heart procedure done, I actually ended up getting COVID. And it kind of worsened the effects of COVID extremely, to the point to where when I went back to training, I was having a hard time recovering, and I felt like a lot of chest pain. So and I talked to my coach about 10 weeks out from the fight, and I was like, I don't know, I just don't feel right. I don't feel normal, and I know when I fight at 135, things have to be perfect. I have to be on my shit. I have to be on my nutrition. My recovery has to be 100%. So when we started noticing that my recovery was just not well, and I was having a hard time with performance, we made the decision to pull out the fight. So it kind of sucks, but I wish I could have gotten one more fight before 2020 ended, but it's kind of just the way 2020's been. It's been shitty. So
yeah, no, and you better take your time coming back from something like that, right? Just to make sure, especially with COVID added in there. I mean, that's like a cocktail of just not good things, right? So good to hear you're all healthy and good to go there. Was there a point when you heard about this heart stuff that you thought this might be the end? Because you never know with that, right? Like was that something that crossed your mind at all?
So it can be genetic, and my grandmother actually has it. She's got a lot of heart issues. And yeah, I was really worried. I was like, oh my gosh, I never noticed anything like this. And What if it's really bad and we can't fix this,
Right.
But I know a few athletes, not personally, but I read online a few athletes that have had it and it's manageable. And I had an ablation done, so everything is fine. There's nothing that's going to affect me or affect me in the future, which is very fortunate. But it is a manageable situation. It just made me very nervous at first when I heard it, like having a heart situation, and I run a lot, and so it could have been like induced like athletically from me just overtraining.
Right. Interesting. How's Coach Safe reacting to this? Because he had obviously this dealing with you, and then Jeff had those health issues as well, right, later on. So, I mean, that's kind of tragic having 2 of your fighters, your big names sort of out of action due to health stuff, right?
Yeah, but I mean, what's crazy is that when I had COVID, I mean, I lost my taste and smell, and I maybe felt bad for one day, but it wasn't until I went back to training immediately after, recovering from COVID. And it was the same situation for Jeff. I mean, Jeff had COVID, and then he went back to training, and then all of a sudden all these like medical issues started happening. So it also could have been a situation where maybe we just pushed a little too hard, too fast, too soon, And that's what's so weird about COVID is that you might not feel shitty at all, and then you go back to training, you go back
right in your face. It's like, yeah, we're not good, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's crazy, and I think coach realized that you just can't mess around with this. We got to be careful, and we got to take care of ourselves, and yeah.
There you go. Well, you got a big fight here. Like I mentioned off the top, February 6th, Marion Reneau. I mean, she's fought the who's who, Holly Holm, Raquel Pennington. It's got to be a fight that gets you excited just seeing, who she's fought and sort of the name recognition she's had over the years. Style-wise, how do you feel like you match up against her here?
I think this is a great matchup for me. She's been in the sport for a long time. She's a vet, and I watched her coming up, and I have a lot of respect for her, and I respect her game. I respect her athleticism. I think she has great boxing. And she's been with some of the best, and I'm ready to start moving in that direction. I'm ready to start fighting people who have fought the best, and I'm ready to start moving down the rankings, and I've had, besides being sick and having that heart procedure done and pulling out in September, it's not like I haven't been doing anything. So we've been working on a lot of skill and just really enjoying the process.
Awesome.
So I'm so excited.
Well, and the implications are interesting too, because Marion's on a bit of a losing streak here, and it seems like, another one might be the end of her career, just being at 43. I mean, not being disrespectful, but I just sort of look at the optics of this, where it's like, are they going to keep her around? Do you think that'll play a role just with her? I asked her yesterday, I interviewed her, and she's like, it's not a big deal, but do you think there's more pressure on her in this fight?
I mean, she obviously understands that there is more pressure, but she might not be letting it affect her, because she's been in there. She's been in her last 3 losses. Yeah, she lost, but look against who? I mean, Kat Zingano, Yana Kuntsakaya, and Raquel Pennington. I mean, those weren't easy fights, and I know she lost, but they were all wars. I mean, they were, they were all wars, and there's times in there where I really thought the fight was going to turn around. Yeah. For some of those fights. So, I mean, I don't look at that at all as something to sleep on, and I'm not thinking that I have an advantage,
Absolutely.
At all. So, I mean, she's a game opponent. She's strong. I mean, she's 43, but a lot of the people that I've worked with, in their mid 30s to 40s, it's like, you have like old man strength. Like, it's like older woman strength. I mean, they're strong. They're mature. They're muscle maturity. They've been in there. They're comfortable. So I think this is a really good fight for me in all like aspects, as far as mentally, and game planning and sticking to certain things. And, I'm really excited, and I think she's going to come out, and I think she's going to push, and if she ever thinks that she's going to go out, she's going to go out on,
Yeah, no, bang. Yeah, so, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure. You come from a great camp at Fortis MMA. I mean, the who's who, if you look at just all the rankings, all the divisions and stuff. Who are you mainly getting to work with for this camp? Is there anyone a little bit more than others?
I've been working with Miles Johns a lot, because he's like a little bulldog, he's got a hard head too. Every time I hit him, he's like head butts my punches, and I'm like, dude, this is insane. Like, but I've been working with Miles a lot. I've been working with JP Bays.
Nice. Yep. He's now in the UFC, which is great.
Yeah, and he's super fast, very elusive, and he has great wrestling. So those have been like my 2 main training partners.
Cool. And I imagine in your corner you'll have Safe. Who else will be in the cage with you that night?
I have Safe with me. I have my coach from New Orleans, Sean Gayton from Mid City MMA. And then I'm going to have Damon Jackson in there as well.
Nice. Good old Damon, who, by the way, good on him for getting rid of social media. He's another guy that had to endure a lot of like crazy stuff with him. So he's, I love Damon because he's still doing, as far as I know, he's still doing the RV stuff. I know he like renovates them and stuff. I always thought that's so cool that he does that. How's this fight playing out in the 6th? You feel like you're going to win, but how do you envision it playing out?
You know, I mean, it could be a 3-round war, you know? I've been working on a lot of like elusive movement and sticking and moving and range. You know, big thing is that I really need to work on is range. You know, I'm a tall person. I have I have 72 and a half reach. There's no reason why I should be trying to tight inside box. You know, I mean, I can do it, right? But we've been working on being long, popping, ranging, you know, and Marion's very explosive at certain times. So we've been trying to be very elusive. So it could be a 3-round bang, could be a war, right? Could be a finish. You know, I don't really know. But honestly, I've been in this mental state of just really enjoying, like, just being in there and being in the moment, you know, because 15 minutes, if you think about it, it goes so fast. So fast. Like my last fight, every time I said that, I was like, what round is it? Oh, it's round 3? Oh my God. Okay. You know, and I feel like that's like when you've been in the cage more and more and more, it's like you start to actually see things and it goes by so fast.
I imagine the plan is to try and keep active just to maybe make up a little bit for lost time, or what's sort of the plan? I guess just reassess and then go from there after this fight?
After this fight?
Yeah.
I want to fight maybe 4 times this year or 5. I mean, I want to I've only fought once last year and I'm kind of in that space where I'm like, I'm ready to go. So, you know, if everything's said and done and there's no injuries or anything like that, I want to try and get something going, you know, in the next few weeks after. So
awesome. Before we go, I mentioned Damon Jackson getting off social media. I know you're not on Twitter anymore. You're kind of doing limited stuff on Instagram. Is that easier just getting through camp, not having to read those comments and all that stuff? Because we were talking about this off air. I mean, social media it's turning into a disaster. No one's regulating it. There's these people writing just absolutely terrible comments. Do you find that things have been easier now, just not having to worry about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten off Twitter for a while, so it's definitely easier. I don't have to sit there and just read people's bullshit all day, but it's you know, the problem is that now you have this form of bullying where people can just kind of like get into your life and just say whatever they say. You know, like a few years back, if you really wanted to talk to someone or see what they had to say, you would watch them on TV or, you know, you would watch or do this. But now people just go into your messages and they can ask you whatever you want, you know. And then I almost felt bad for not answering certain fans. You know, you have a fan that's like, oh, love you, like, keep up the good work, and I'll say thank you. And then all of a sudden they'll start wanting to talk to me, like, just over and over and over again.
Yeah, and then I know I get the same thing sometimes.
Answer back, and they're pissed. They're like, well, F you then, you know? So it's just very unpredictable. The social media is just so bipolar, and I'd rather just focus on 1 or 2 platforms, right? So people can kind of get a gauge of what I'm doing.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Sometimes it's fun not knowing what the hell I'm doing. And then you see me in the cage and I look great, right? So, so I'm trying not to stress myself out about things that should not be stressing me out, you know? So.
And we can't have discussions. I mean, the whole thing, you know, I'll just mention it quickly here. The whole thing with you and Valerie Laredo, like I knew, and we talked about this off air, I knew what you meant there. And you were just trying to have a discussion about how, you know, people should promote themselves. And then it's all team Valerie and her fans like after you. And that's ridiculous. Right. No, we're not going to get anywhere if we can't talk about things, right? Exactly. Even if there are things they're uncomfortable. Twitter is unfortunately one of those places where it seems like whoever can bully or be the rudest to the person wins the game. That's how I kind of look at it sometimes. And it shouldn't be like that. We should be able to talk about stuff, but unfortunately it's, people have a license to do what they want when they're behind a keyboard, right? So
for sure. And, you know, and I understand people wanting to defend her. You know, some people may have read it and been like, okay, I'm offended, you know, and it wasn't to offend anyone. I just happened to like run across her video, you know, in a gym, doing whatever, you know, and there's no judgment. You can do whatever you want in life, and there's no judgment there. I just, you know, I think it's like for the sport itself, and that's all I was saying, you know, and there's nothing against her. I don't hate her, you know. Her video had happened to pop up while I was in thought of the whole situation and use it as an example, you know, and people are going to take it this way and be like, well, you're racist because she's Latina.
They said racist? Oh my goodness. Yeah, like, come on. Like it's
the race part. And I was like, okay, you know, I'm the most least racist person ever, but but it's all about how you perceive it and read it. So, and that's the problem with, social media, is that people are typing shit. You don't really know what context it's in. So I totally understand that. But, I said what I wanted to say, and that's it.
No, for sure. And it's not real life. Like there's definitely a bubble on Twitter of like people wouldn't talk like this outside, like in real life. You know what I mean? Like no one's going to go on a fighter's Instagram and say, "Hey, you suck" or whatever to their face in real life. Like it's just a weird time we're in, and there's no regulation. But anyways, we could do an entire podcast on that, I'm sure.
I know, exactly the whole situation there.
Before we go on kind of a positive note, what's downtime looking like for you right now? You getting into any Netflix or anything like that?
I love Netflix and chill. Yeah, well, I've been training 3 times a day. So anytime I get in between training, I read a lot too. I've been reading a lot of books.
Anything good you can share with me? Any good books you're getting into?
Yeah, I mean, so I read this book called Relentless not too long ago, and then my coach kind of like circled back and was like, I really want you guys to read this book. And I'd already read it, but so what I did is I started to listen to it on audiobook.
Oh, cool. Okay, nice.
Book is freaking awesome. It's like the #1 hype motivational speaking book that I've ever like listened to. I could listen to it over and over again. So if you ever have a chance to listen to the audiobook of Relentless, you should definitely do that. There's a few other stuff that I'm kind of reading right now. Sometimes on the down low, I'll do like calculus.
Really? Cool. Okay.
So when I was in college, I graduated with a minor in civil engineering and then a degree in biology.
Nice.
And so when I decided to not major in civil engineering, I had already gone through like all the calculuses and multivariables and stuff. And probably maybe a few weeks ago, I was like, you know what? Like, I feel like doing something mentally, but like working. Yeah. So I like ordered a calculus book and I've been doing like integrals and shit. But so that's cool. And then my girlfriend teaches music at the University of Texas, Arlington. And so she's been teaching me piano a little bit, so that's been cool.
Look at you, not just fighting. There you go. You got a bunch of cool stuff going on. See, and that's time you could be spending on something positive like you're doing, as opposed to living on social media. So good for you, especially during this time. Macy, thanks so much for doing this. I know you don't do a ton of media. I really appreciate it. Just remind people where they can get a hold of you on, I guess, Instagram, but also I'm sure you got some sponsors and all that other stuff. I'll give you the last word here.
Yeah, so you can find me on Macy Chiasson, MacyChiasson on Instagram. I do have a Twitter, but it's temporarily down because I don't want to be on there right now.
Right.
And it's the same, Macy Chiasson, at Macy Chiasson. And then to my sponsors, Fit Meals Prep for getting me through camp, CBG Online Sports, my nutritionist, Eric Pena as well. Eric Pena is coming in on Sunday. He's going to cook for me for 3 weeks. So I'm getting the best of the best over here. And that's it. That's all I can think of right now.